It's a beautifully sunny day here in Southern California. A little bit windy, so I might have to make this video again if the audio isn't that great. But I wanted to talk about why it is so hard for human beings to get started, and specifically why it's so hard for creatives and for entrepreneurs to get started. Right? To get started on a new project, to get started on that new business, whatever it is. Many of you know I'm a painter. I'm also a guitarist. I have a guitar channel you can check out. I make tutorial videos on there. And I'm also a teacher. And it's so weird to me, but I feel like many of you would probably have experienced a similar feeling, that it is far more difficult for me to start a new painting, or to start creating a new song, or even start making a new guitar tutorial. It's far more difficult to do those things than it is for me to start my regular teaching day. And it's odd because while I love teaching, I love painting more. I love creating videos more. And yet, why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult to get started? I wanted to kind of share with you some ideas from way smarter philosophers than myself. I'm not even a philosopher, right? I can't claim that. But way smarter people than me about the ideas of why it's so hard to get started on something that should, on the outside, seem easy. So, one, a lot of philosophers, they bring up the idea of perfectionism. You know, if you're a creative individual, you probably have a certain idea as to how either that piece of art or that song, or even if you're a business person, how that business is going to turn out or should turn out. You have an idea. You have a preconceived idea of what you want. And the fear and the unknown of how it will actually turn out holds you back. Perfectionism holds you back from experiencing the joy of the journey. You know, like oftentimes I'll start out a painting and really it's the very beginning of the painting that is the most anxiety-inducing part of the process, which is odd because if you know oil painting, I mean, the beginning is kind of the least important. You could wipe it away, start all over. You know what I mean? The beginning is kind of the least important, and yet it's the most anxiety-inducing. And it's because I have no idea where, you know, it's going to end up in comparison to where I hope that it ends up. So to that, my dog is barking in the background. I don't know if you can hear him. But so to that, what we can try to do to defeat perfectionism is to try to enjoy the experience along the way. It's not bad to have an idea, especially if you're running a business, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to have the idea. But to try and take joy, just enjoy the process. Another individual, another philosopher that I read a bit of their writing was Herbert Marcuse. I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly, but it's the paradox of choice. It's the anxiety that we feel when we have too many choices laid out before us. And when I looked at this philosophical approach as to why it's so hard to get started, it really clicked for me as to why my regular teaching job, right, or possibly your 9 to 5, is so much easier to get started than the things that we actually enjoy doing. And it's simply because you have way less choice. You know, and the bell rings for me at 8:30. I got to get in that classroom and start teaching. There's not much choice there. It limits the anxiety that I have. You know what I mean? In comparison to having the feeling of, I want to paint today. But what do I want to paint? I only have X amount of hours. I could paint this over here, but that's a new subject for me, and maybe I'm going to waste 2 hours because of the perfectionism thing, because it's not going to turn out to what I want it to be. You know, even maybe you're thinking about starting a business, but you're not really you're not really solidified on what kind of business you want to run, and so you are paralyzed by the amount of choices that you have before you. And I know for me personally, like I'm spending this year doing, you know, the code teaching, and I work part-time, and yeah, I have quite a few different businesses, and because I have all these choices, it has caused me a lot of stress, because I think to myself, what if I invest the most amount of most amount of time into the wrong one? You know, what if pouring 70% of my time into business A would have actually made me a lot more money than pouring 70% of my time into business B? And it's paralyzing. Then you end up not doing either of them. So to that one, I don't really know the answer. I don't really know the answer other than, I guess if it's business related, be smart about it. Consider what you have the least amount of competition in. Consider what you feel like you can continue to do on a day-to-day basis. And then most importantly, pick one and stick to it. And maybe you're going to fail. But at least you chose something, and at least you committed your time and you committed yourself to it. And the same thing for creatives. Again, I keep on using painting here as an example, but you know, there's so many other artistic outlets out there. But you know, I think the most important thing is pick something. I've never felt terrible about the process. You know what I mean? Maybe I do. Maybe I create a terrible painting. It's awful. It was a new subject and I just wasn't ready. My experience level wasn't ready for that. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I look at the painting and I'm like, gosh, that's bad. But the process was enjoyable. It calmed my mind. I worked towards something. I worked towards a goal rather than sitting there all day thinking to myself of all the reasons why I shouldn't make that painting or get started on this one, or, you know, just pick something and go with it. So I just wanted a weird kind of video. I understand. I know. But it was something that was on my mind today because I felt myself procrastinating. You know, I was looking around at things around the house. I was looking at things outside. I don't typically paint plein air, but it's something that I really, really want to get into. And as I'm looking around, I'm coming up with all these reasons as to why I shouldn't do it. So before I go and paint, I wanted to make a quick video about why it's so freaking hard for human beings to get started on doing something that they love. Let me know if you have experienced this in the comments down below. Let us know what helps you. And thanks for watching this video. I'll see you next time.